This is Constant Elevation, the show for rising Air Force and community leaders who seek to define the future. Learn powerful work and life tactics to tackle any challenge. I'm your host, Gabriel Gabrock Avila. Let's go. What's up, everybody? Gabe Brock back on the mic once again. Hope you guys are enjoying your March. I'm actually recording this earlier in the day. Normally I record them on Thursdays after all of my meetings. I'm doing this earlier on a Thursday because there's a retirement ceremony. Actually, it's not called a retirement ceremony. It's called like a, I don't know. He is retiring, but he's not calling it that. And I think he has different reasons for that. But in any case, I'm attending that for one of my fellow airmen later on this afternoon. So I want to make sure I'm going to be available for that. So I'm getting in my work in early. Also on this Thursday, this is actually the first day of the 2021 CrossFit Open, and so I will be competing for that underneath the Revival Fitness. So shout out to, we're actually registered under 12 Laborers Annapolis because we are not an affiliated gym, but they are, and they were good enough to hook us up so we can participate in the Open. So if you look my name up, Gabriel Avila, on the leaderboard, you can see how bad I am doing this year. But we'll see exactly what gets announced tonight, and then I coach first thing in the morning tomorrow at 6 a.m., and then I'll be doing the workout right after that. And so more than likely next week I may or may not talk about what my score is. I'm participating because I enjoy participating. I have no illusions that I'm going to make it to the CrossFit Games or even make it to the quarterfinals. I just like to test myself and see where how much better I've gotten at weightlifting. Shout out Iron Athletics, and just and my overall fitness levels that I get to work out with that Revival Fitness. So really good team there. Looking forward to seeing everybody maybe get that open magic, maybe that first pull up or that first muscle up or whatever it is, and helping celebrate with the team. So it's going to be a good heading into this weekend, and then it's going to be so far. Weather's holding up really nice here in Maryland as well. So we'll see like 70 or something, and then some bullshit. It goes down to like 30s or something on Monday. So I'm not looking forward to that, but it is what it is. We can't put away all of the winter stuff yet, but and it's daylight savings times, savings times. If you don't have any kids, you should look up Teen Titans Go and daylight saving times episode. It's like one of the best ways you can understand the concept behind daylight savings times. Those the pesky farmers, yo. So but it was fun. In any case, make sure while you're listening to this on Sunday, if you subscribed and you are listening on Sunday, make sure your clocks are springed forward 1 hour. So, all right. So this week, what I want to talk about is, if you didn't know, I'm actually the Ops Integration Division Chief at JVXU Doden, and one of the teams that we have within the division is the Ops Assessment Cell. And so you can call it, we don't have a stand eval function, but it's sort of like that. And so we have the unique opportunity, I call it, we have some graduated people that made it off the floor that kind of understand how the operations have been in execution, and then we get to essentially like Monday morning quarterback everything and just see, and even in stride assessment saying like, hey, there's some things that probably needs some improvement. We need to change this process, or we see something that's a larger thing to where we need to go back and do a lot more research before we just say, we definitely don't do the just identify what's wrong. We are also always going to be coming up with solutions. And I make a point of that for my team. We are not the wrong, just pointing things out. Like, we are going to say what should be, we'll finish our sentence and say what should be fixed in order to make sure these mistakes don't happen again. It's basically put these things into action to make things definitely happen or never happen, because those kind of things in our business just kind of make things inefficient, not only for us as a staff and a headquarters, but it affect all of the operations that we lead across the Doden. And so trying to get those change, that's what I want to talk about this week, is how do I get our recommendations and solutions to stick, and that's the challenge part, right? I can come up with all kinds of stuff as far as like, yeah, here's these bright ideas, and I talk to people, and everybody agrees with that. But if they don't stick, if they don't actually get into reality and get a change in the headquarters, our work is wasted. And so I'm making sure I want to present to you some of my ideas. Some of these ideas you've probably heard about these things, just organizational change, and so I'm sure you've heard some of the things that in a different form or fashion, like anything else. Most of these kind of leadership or self-improvement kind of subject matter shows, we're all talking about the same thing and different techniques. We just have different labels for them. So by no means do I think I have a unique lock on how to make recommendations and changes in organizations stick. I'm just going to give you my perspective based on recent things that have happened within the last 2 weeks. And so a lot of our operations kind of go off as originally planned, and then like anything else, you have to like left right vector it to make sure that's heading in the right direction. And so for our team, if we start to, we call them observations, we notice something is kind of odd. Something is off. Something is either not originally what was supposed to be intended, or there's a part missing. Like we're doing, out of the 7 tasks, we're only doing 5 of them, and those 2 are being missed. And so we want to make sure that, hey, so those other 2 need to be done. Let's make sure that we have everything in order to make sure those things get done. And so there are 3 things I think that really comes down to what I'm seeing is kind of like the phase of, actually it's a cycle. It's going to be people, process, and then people again. Okay. So first one, people. I think what's going to happen is that's kind of our job in the assessment cell, right? We are, and not only us, our charge is to observe and document and analyze exactly some of either the efficiencies and or inefficiencies going along with an operation. And so we're not the only ones uniquely settled with that, right? Everybody else is kind of noticing. From the ops floor to the back offices, everybody can see that things are going right or not going right. Our job, though, is to kind of gather all those information and actually make it something tangible to where we can focus and do deeper analysis. So it's not just a complaint in the hallway or a mumbling over here in a side conversation. It's like, no, let's bring it to the table. If this is a real thing, let's go ahead and make some changes and deliver some action plans to fix what you observe. Don't just mumble on. Don't just be a problem admirer. Be a problem solver. And so part of that's going to be just personality. You're going to have people are going to end up being that catalyst. A lot of it's going to be born on frustration. They're going to be like, I can't do my job, or I'm not getting information that I need, or this part of this meeting is not happening in the right way. Therefore, I'm not doing what is expected of me. And so it's probably going to be born out of a person being frustrated of not being able to do their responsibility. And so what's going to happen is, and I think this is a unique kind of thing that our team brought to the headquarters, is that you're going to have to be able to articulate that and communicate that very succinctly and professionally, right? And so the way that you can kind of grab all these energies out there to be like, hey, so yeah, we're noticing things are kind of off. And all right, cool. How do we put this into language that actually is professional and people can actually focus on and start to generate and understand to where like, yeah, that is a problem, to where they also understand that like, maybe they didn't have the right words in their mind to kind of articulate what the problem was, but our job is to do that. And so we do that, and people are like, yeah, that is a problem. That looks off. Or yes, this meeting is not going the way it's supposed to be, or this information is not getting to me. So it's going to be highly dependent on a person or a team in order to communicate and articulate that problem. Because if you can't do it, it's the foundational part of this process, right? And so making sure you know how to articulate that. And then what's going to happen is I do this thing a lot. So I would write down, especially on big dry erase boards, I write down my ideas, and then I get other people to come double check my homework. You've heard me talk about this before on the podcast. I'm not in a unique position or a vacuum to where I just kind of look at things and just hold on to my information. I want other people to look at it and see if we're all seeing the same thing. So like the efficacy of potential change is going to be dependent on more people believing and understanding what the problem is, right? And so that's why I spend a lot of time drawing things out. Maybe because I'm an officer, so I'm built for pictures. So like you draw things out in a process and simple ideas that are can be understood by the most junior airman or the most senior officer. If everybody understands what's going on, then you're articulating it correctly. And so the more and more people, like the multiplicity of people who understand that this is a problem, it adds to that momentum to be like, this is something that needs to be fixed, because all of you are thinking and recognizing this is going to be something that needs to be changed. So we'll say that we've identified based on all those conversations and how we're incorporating more people in there, we'll say, for sake of argument, that you've come up with a solution. You've said that this is what we need to adjust. It's very cleanly defined. This is the thing that needs to be tweaked, and then let's proceed from there. Now you're transitioning from the people phase to the process phase. So now it becomes a thing of how do you document and make sure that everybody understands how this new change is going to work. It could be a simple thing of like, maybe it's only 2 people that need to fix something, but those 2 people in that job need to adjust their checklist or standard operating procedures or whatever it is, how they do their job, because it's necessary for them to write it down. And I say that because part of the errors of the people is that people tend to forget. I forget stuff all the time, right? And so you're a default for, especially for military personnel, and potentially for technical people, is checklist rigor. You adjust your procedures, you look at your instructions, and you make sure those modifications are in there. That way, you don't have to rely on your memory per se to worry about every single detail. You can update the process to make sure those things are documented. That way, if you, God forbid, you get hit by a bus or something like that, somebody knows how to pick up the game and knows how to carry on that new process that you all have decided that needs to be implemented. And so taking the time to document the process, and I truly believe that. I think a lot of people see that as a luxury, if you want to call it that, or just like time wasted. Like, sir, we know what we're going to be doing. I'm like, okay, the next time, but when you move, some of that match is going to be gone. And are you really setting up your follow-on teammates for success? Like during turnover, potentially, especially in a joint environment, they're not going to know what that is. If you come from another AF cyber environment, maybe you probably have an advantage because you should be on the same systems and on the same kind of language. But like going to a joint environment, this is even more prevalent why you need to document something, because all of us speak in different languages, our service languages. And then when you complicate it with technical jargon, even more so, you have to make sure that everybody stays together, stays on the same page. So the second part of it is going to be socializing the process, just like where you have done that previous marketing at the action officer level, just kind of whiteboarding and understanding like, hey, so is this what I'm looking at? Now that you have the process kind of slapped and it's defined, you got to market it. You have to market it and make sure that everybody's equities are still gathered, right? So it's kind of like a round two. You've gone from the pencil sketches to a pen and ink sketch now. So now it's like, okay, it's a little bit more gelled together. Probably it's okay if it's already in execution. 80% is probably be good enough. And then you just keep on going, but you continue to socialize it because you want that energy. You want that new idea to permeate through your organization. Finally, the last part of the process, I think, is looping in senior leadership. And so by the time it needs to get to them, if there is a part of that process that requires a decision point for them, you definitely need to get in front of them. But if not, you just send them for situational awareness, just to showing they're like, hey, sir, ma'am, we've actually worked on these things and this is the new process. We have no immediate actions for you, but I think it's important for them to understand kind of like how at the lower levels, how the information is being transferred, is being collaborated and all the kind of things. And then they will probably have a different, obviously at their perspective, they may have some constructive criticism to add to it, or maybe they're working on something and then we didn't even know we were leveraging a solution that they were looking for. So he's going to fast track the whole thing and wants to make this like a headquarters wide process or a best practice in many other forms. And so those are good things, right? You want to make sure you're not necessarily claiming you have the solution, but you definitely have something tailored to your team that is going to drive positive organizational change. So that's, basically selling the process and making sure everybody understands what is that 80-90% solution. Okay, so we went from people, process, and then now like the third part is going back to people. That's why I'm saying it's a circular process. So just writing it down doesn't mean anything. Belief in the change actually is required for this to be followed through. So this is going to be critical in the beginning parts of the phase. If you're not going to make everybody happy per se, but if you at least consider everybody's equities to make sure that they are considered, and then decisions are going to have to be made in order to drive that change, it's not going to work well if you have one part of that process just stuck and stubborn. It doesn't want to adopt to the thing and the follow through. So in other words, if that person or persons end up being detriments to the process, it's dead in the water. I don't care how much you've sold it in front of 1 stars and all those positive things. If someone's going to be like, no, I'm just going to not let this do. I'm just going to be a jerk off and not let this process work. That's the solution to that is leadership. That's what it needs to be. You need to find the right people to understand like why they're being like that. Have the conversation with them. Maybe they're potentially a peer of yours. Maybe there's an equity. Maybe there's just a simple personality conflict or something like that. Just try and convince and work with that person. Be like, dude, this is bigger than this little petty shit that you're talking about. We look at the bigger picture and understand you're a critical part of this team. You're a critical link in the chain. So let's go. What are we talking about? Why are you being, what is holding you back from wanting to implement this solution that obviously lots of other people are on board with? So what is it that we need to potentially adjust to make sure that you stay with the team? Because it's only going to work if the team is going to be doing it together. So again, the belief in the change must be followed through, and it requires everybody to follow through on that. Don't let the spent energy go to waste, right? Like I said, you can't just write down. I always say that like when you have people who have like the inspiration words around them, all like those live, laugh, love, and all the whatever crap that they sell at like Target, and as far as those inspiration kind of board things, you can only surround yourself with those things. But if you're not actually doing it, I don't care that you bought those things. It doesn't matter. Like, you can't just surround yourself with positive words and then all of a sudden just hope that, because hope is not a koa, I'm going to be a better person. You have to actually be a better person. So it takes dedicated time and energy for everybody involved to make sure you follow the process. You hold each other accountable. Be like, hey man, remember that time we said that you need to be at step number 7 or at this meeting. Make sure you're there. Make sure your team is there, and hold each other accountable. We're all in at least where I work at, we're all adults, and so there's no reason why you can't do that. So hold each other accountable. That's the only way you're going to make that process work. And then finally, I would say, this is why I'm saying it's circular. After some time, maybe like 6 months or a year or something like that, go back and look at the process. I'm sure there's going to be, you don't have to wait that long. You do it like every month or 3 months. But like, I wouldn't spend time just trying to improve it for smaller kind of improvements. I would spend time to make sure that, hey, so are the right things, maybe there's a new technology that can be added to this and make this process go faster, or hey, we got a new teammate or new addition to the whole thing, so we want to loop them in because they bring a different angle, some different flavor to the entire solution. So this gets a 2.0 upgrade kind of thing. Those are all good stuff. And so take time to always go back and evaluate yourself to like, is there any room for improvement? Don't just get stuck in that rut of, well, this is how we've always done it. Fuck that. You have control over that. Make those kind of inputs. Your inputs are valuable. You want to drive change because it's probably going to positively affect you. So why not? Why would you fight for that? Why would you just accept crap out there? Like, drive the change. Be that catalyst. Be that person or team that kind of everybody rallies around, because for some reason you have that right. I don't know what it is, but he has it. He has that right magic in order to kind of bring the team together in order to drive that change. People, process, back to people. So simple. Like I said earlier in the episode, I think you probably heard these words in a different version, but that was some stuff I'm working on, and we'll continue on work the rest of this week and then into next week before I start my school at the end of the month. And so it's going to be I'm looking forward to it. I want to hit these last couple weeks at work really, really hard, because I want to leave the team set up for success, not only my team, but also the team at large. And in parallel, getting after the open, lifting some weights, going for some runs, hopefully enjoying some steady weather nicely, whatever that happens to be. And then it's going to be a good time. So appreciate you guys listening this week, and we'll talk to you again next week. Peace.